Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for another review of Westworld Season 4. Dare I say, one of the best seasons of Westworld since Season 1. We're on Episode 7, the episode before the finale, believe it or not. Even though this looked like it could be its own finale. But I'm going to get into the reasons why it's not, because there is legitimately a loop that is not closed just yet. And it is the arc that started in the very beginning that we've been trying to ponder. And it doesn't have to do with either one of these young ladies here, but it's got to do with the infamous Dolores that is not Dolores, that is something completely different. But we'll get into that in a little bit. I have here a co-host here, Mike. What's going on, man?
How you guys doing? Yeah, I'm still processing.
Yeah, we literally just got done looking at the episode, so it's very fresh in our minds. The thing that I was gonna say, Mike, honestly, is it Chrissy? Is her name Chrissy? That's Dolores. Christine. So Christine's arc is the one that I'm talking about that has been an enigma from the beginning. We knew that Christine's arc, it seemed as though it was taking place in present day, but then early on, we were kind of pondering, did it take place in the future? We really didn't know. But for a long period of time, I was wondering, I was like, is this a simulation? Is this a play-by-play of what's already happened or events that's already happened? Because it looks like she's doing things in real time. Down to the point now that we've seen Hale get to a point, which is Tessa Thompson's character, get to a point where she's lost control. She's not happy. She's lost control. She's becoming more and more human herself. And she's ready to just close the loop. She's ready to take all the humans and freeze them, let them go, let them die. She could care less. She wants her people to evolve. But like, I think William, the alter ego version of William and the real William had the revelation that, you know, the reason why the alter ego version of William was becoming more like him, it's almost like a spreading virus, because there's a piece of him that's bleeding through. And that's the same thing that happened to Hale. That's the same thing that kind of, the difference with Dolores and Teddy, they came from absolutely nothing, but all these other people come from other people. And I think the best example of that is Caleb. Caleb has been recreated countless times, but Caleb is still the same as that Caleb. Like there's no doubt that is the same exact Caleb. And I think that is the revelation that she got, and that's where things are very fascinating with Christine, which we'll get to that in a second. But I'll talk about my theory with that a little bit later. But we got a lot of face-offs in this one. We got technically Dolores going up against Maeve all over again.
All over.
We got Arnold and
William
facing off all over again. Like there's so many different things. And also Caleb, Aaron Paul has been acting his butt off this season. Because that moment when he got the understanding that was his daughter, and his daughter was having she was trying to convince him at first, and then she was having a nervous breakdown because she was like, she realized what had happened to her dad.
Yes.
And with all the tears and emotion in his eyes, he still conveyed to her, no, it's me. I got you. You know, but what were some of your favorite parts about this episode?
It was like that split scene of like, she cried, like, what did she do to you? What did she do to you? It's like, but it's me. It's still me, right? But as that realization, I get props to the actress who did that role, but like, that performance. But again, Aaron Paul, just, you also kind of relate to him of just like, he's just been drugged under the mud this whole time and not trying to get out. But then also you see a side Bernard, like, okay, how they just shoot this episode term about perspective, running scenarios, which we saw a actual scenario play out in his head. And then, but yet us as a viewer, our eyes are deceived when we know, okay, we're in the sublime, but now we're in the real world. So what was to happen? You see the same scene being played again, but no, that was just a narrative that was going to be played. to see if that would work out. And she gave him the ultimatum, saying, "Hey, there is no way we're getting out of this whole thing alive. We're going to die." Now, obviously, with the show, everybody doesn't die, especially if you're a host or even human. Just you get replaced, whatever. So when I'm seeing bullets, being shot in the head and everything like that, I'm like, okay, I don't feel any emotion because I know what's about to happen. You know what I mean? But I'm also trying to see what's the narrative here. We've seen Maeve get killed twice this season. All of them. Hale been killed twice, I believe. This is her second time, and she's been shot by William. But then also, to me, my favorite shot, but leads me more questions, is William walking back in his classic Men in Black outfit, using old, guns and everything. And he walking out into the game that he basically wanted. And in the scene, to me, my favorite scene was him talking to William, or his original self, saying, "Listen, there's only one way we go. Like, I can't go. If even a nuclear bomb, the people that survive is cockroaches, right? And like you already know what you have to do. So, because I'm either way, I'm you. So it's like, unlike the other situation, people getting remade, their original selves bleeding out of them. It's like, no, you're me. So whether I'm in cryogenic state or you're a host, you're me.
Right.
So yeah. So now it's almost like, now what you want to do? And he's like, okay, cool. And now it's like he's basically on a killing spree like he was originally. But again, with Chris Hemsworth's brother, when he thought she was gonna arrest Kate, like after he got stabbed, he's like, "Oh no, we gotta save this person." No. I know who this guy is. Someone did us a favor. Well, really, not necessarily, because now here we got this situation here, and that was an iconic shot right there to me.
Dude, it's such an amazing shot. And the crazy thing is, like, he's more dangerous than ever because technically he can't really die. Like before, at least the William, the Man in Black himself, he had an expiration point. Eventually he was gonna die. He did a lot of terrible things, but eventually he was gonna die. But this is not somebody that's gonna stop. Technically, what he could do, if he wanted to, he could take his consciousness and put it into a younger version of himself.
Right.
And shout out to my man Jimmy Simpson. I got to interview him during San Diego Comic-Con. I would love to see him back on the show. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Absolutely.
But yeah, those were definite highlights. I think the actress that played, for a long time, I was kind of like, I didn't know if the older version of Caleb's daughter was going to work. But I think her acting in this episode specifically, it paid off. They allowed it to progress to a point. I was like, okay, this is good payoff. This is really good payoff. Right. But we got to talk about, like you said, Bernard going through the simulation at first within his own consciousness of how it could go, knowing how to play to Maeve and understanding, okay, I understand the assignment. If I give her too much, she's going to abandon me and dip. But if I string her along a little bit and let her see she can be of use before she goes, maybe that'll work better in my benefit. Because, he set the charge and everything. He told her what she needed to hear. And she accepted it for herself. And he also did too. Like, both of them are technically making big sacrifices for the greater good. Now, what that greater good is, I have absolutely no idea.
That's the part where I'm confused, like why people might like watching this review think I might be quiet, because like I'm really lost with words. Like, even though I was saying Westworld's back, and that still is. I don't think it's a down episode, none the least. I don't think that at all. But I'm thinking, I'm just kind of questioning, especially the line of like, why can he not see me? Because you're not, you're not real. At least you're in a different world. What are we talking about here? What is this? What's going on?
So I guess we can just go straight into it. Well, you know Westworld really well. So who is another character that was put through simulation? Their consciousness was not in an actual body. It was in a simulation. Who is that person? I think it happened around season 3, I believe.
In a simulation?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm thinking it gotta be the Man in Black. But not. But I'm like, then I'm like, but Hale.
Mm.
This is what I think.
I just tell you. I gotta just tell you. So Maeve, before Maeve got into her actual body, she was in.
Oh yeah. With the in the okay with the Rehoboam guy, yeah. But he was actually in a separate thing. Like she was in there, and she was like a simulation within a simulation. And I'm
Right,
like,
right.
are you
But
saying? Yeah.
while she was in there, she still had capability. You feel me? Like, even though she wasn't in her actual body, while she was in the cylinder, she still had things that she could control around her. Now, my thought is, and I've always kind of pondered this, like, what's to say this isn't Hale? Dolores is a part of Hale. Like, this is literally a part of her consciousness. No matter what, she can't escape that. And so, unless you're telling me that Dolores kind of came back out of nowhere with Teddy, I just kept on pondering to my head because we were talking during the episode. I was like,
Who took him out?
what if Teddy isn't really there? You know, what if Teddy is a part of her consciousness, guiding her to where she needs to go, to understand what she needs to be, what she needs to do. And then you kind of question like the guy that sacrificed himself, but I was kind of like, but that's a person that she kind of came up with. She created that person. She came up with the story and simulation for him. And so all of it's starting to line up and make sense. But then they hit us with a whoop wop, where it's like she was like, "Yo, this person Caleb, like he's you know he needs to be taken care of." And it's like, "Yeah, well, you can't really do anything about that." And she was like, "Why can't they hear me? Why can't they stop?" Because before she was controlling things, she was doing stuff, but that was in the simulation. She's caught up now with present day and realizing, okay, this is outside of my control technically. But do you find it weird that as soon as Hale got shot in the head, Dolores no longer could have any control at all? So as soon as Hale was taken out of commission, at that same time, Dolores couldn't do anything. Or Christine couldn't do anything. So what I'm saying is that I think that Christine is tethered. Her consciousness, which is technically Dolores, is tethered to Hale.
Hale. Right.
And the moment that Hale went down, you know, that was the reason why she couldn't interface or interact with anything that's going on in the real world presently. But which is interesting to see where are they going with this, because now the Man in Black, not only has he made things 10 times worse than the original could have made, he's got everyone he can kill. Not just not just hosts anymore. He can kill people because they're all under control, you know, and he's not human. So he doesn't care whether or not he kills him. So he's got a whole world of people that he could just either one torture, kill, murder. But it still has got to be a way that Bernard knew that had to happen.
Well, again, look, it's almost having the it's like, I don't know why that moment reminded me of Gotham. Gotham season 4. Like with Ra's al Ghul, like looking at the burning, no man's land, of like, the burning cities, like, yo, is this, how's how this is supposed to go? But there's still hope. Okay, but what is that hope? Then we see a shot of Arnold's son, and walking out. But to me, like, okay, that's his heaven. But I'm like, okay, but that's not a clear answer for me. Which I know for a fact, knowing these actors and everything, like, okay, like, yeah, something's up here. But again, like, what's the end game? Because that's a season finale shot right there. Music playing and everything, unless the final episode is the all-out war we're talking about. But again, what is it? Because then we thought Hemsworth was dead, but he's not. So, but he was not saying that to him. He was saying that to myself. Like, no, I'm gonna die.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what I thought. As soon as he said it, I was like, he's not talking about him. He's talking about him and Maeve. And Maeve even kind of alluded, like, yeah, it was good. Tell your father it was good to see him. I wish I could have seen him. I kind of felt like she was going to sacrifice herself. But I think that we have seen the finale. The shot that we saw of Bernard, in the very beginning, looking out into the cityscape and there's fire and everything around. I think that is the reality. I think that that's the scenario where everybody, in some way, shape, or form, survives. And they showed it again in this episode where he was going and having a conversation, like, in every scenario, this is the only way. But every time I die, I think that he's seeing how this is going to play out, and we've kind of seen it through the window, kind of. But we haven't got to that point yet. It's been initiated. The trigger's been shot, but we haven't seen where that's going to go. And technically, Bernard still got what he wanted. Now the machine or the tower is down because it worked to the advantage of what Will wanted. Will wanted this idea of control to be gone, so that he could be able to mold it in what he wanted. But now, if you look at the pieces that Bernard left, he left Caleb alive, knowing full well that Caleb's daughter was going to find him. He left Hemsworth still there. And I think that he even knew how William was going to pull the situation he did. But it's going to be interesting to see how Caleb and how his daughter fit into all this, because that's a human and that's a host. And then we got an old host. It's just really weird, like the symmetry behind it.
Yeah. And I mean, and not only that, it's like, I'm kind of confused, not saying what the end game is, but it's more of just like, I'm not confused in a sense where it's like season 3, or I don't understand where the heck this is going. But also, I think this is also poor writing. They're not connecting well. This is the opposite, where it's like, okay, I'm confused, but I'm more of like, let me just wait for another episode.
Mm-hmm.
And actually get more clarity of this finale. If anything, this should be a 2-part finale. Then we wouldn't be really been in this state of confusion. At least on my part.
So do you think that if they had left this episode with a to be continued, you would have felt better? Because technically we know it's 8 episodes. I mean, to me, it's the episode before the
then
finale.
Basically, it's either you're setting up for the finale to be lackluster. You know how certain shows, whether it's like let's go the Disney Plus route. Oh, episode 5. Oh, it's the best episode of the season. But then episode 6, the finale. Oh man, this is rush. What's going on here? Well, that's what is the best episode. Is the second and last episode finale.
Right.
And that's I don't think this show really sets himself up for that, because now it's 8 episodes. But again, I'm like, okay, you know what? If you want to confuse the audience, cool. Give me that cliffhanger for your final season, like series finale, be season 5. Okay, cool. But for this, I'm like, okay, what's the end game here? And then if you are having another season, where is this going? At this point where it's become the narrative of seeking consciousness, seeking, we have over now, we have at least had all the entire main cast been killed and rebuild at least 2 or 3 times, especially the main one, which was Dolores, which we thought she died in the last season. But then now it's like we brought this version of her back. And now they get to a point where now if she's not real, but she's in a different world, what world is that? So way we can get the completion, because we started this whole series with her. And I feel like we're gonna end it with her. I said before, and I'll say it again: the scene after when they got out of the park, Bernard and her were talking, saying, "Listen, both of us will die, but in the end, our people will endure." That's how it's gonna end.
So the funny thing is, if that's the case, if we're taking that analogy, well, look at who the 2 big dogs were in the finale, which was Dolores and William. Now, Dolores technically has not come back yet. Because remember, like, it was always what was the alter ego for Dolores? Wyatt? Was it Wyatt?
Yes, Wyatt. Yes.
Right. So Dolores never really made an engagement for herself during that time. It was always she reverted to Wyatt making the conscientious decisions. And that was where it is. Now we have a different Dolores now, seeing all of it, but now fully present. I just don't know. I don't know how it's going to come out, but some kind of a way I picture some form of Dolores as we knew her, the old Dolores. And she's going to want to preserve life, because if you look at the way that Christine is looking at the pandemonium, she doesn't want that. She doesn't want to see humans suffer. She doesn't want to see her people suffer. So she's the immediate response to what William is to me.
Right. I that's what I'm thinking. Like, at first is like inherently. Think about this: the original narrative of the show. You can say she seeking creation, whatever. They both created each other. It's just like in some shape or form.
They both. So did.
So now it's like she's representing the hope of humanity, but she's not human. And then he's representing the hope of destruction, which you think that's basically what she did, but it's now the narrative flip on him, and now he's the guy, the guy. And I'm like, it's the irony of that symbolic irony for me. I think that's very interesting if they do that, because I don't want to see this show end while seeing actual Dolores facing William one more time before the show ends. Like seeing her face, her original face, with not just like not Hale, not a another version Dolores, right? But with William now, it's like, okay, he killed his human self now, so now it's like he's a host now, but now at this point, there's nothing left for him other than destruction.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have his daughter, he doesn't have his wife. Everybody that he knew, he tortured or killed. It's just interesting. If you look back from episode 1 to now, he's laid a foundation for Hale. Like, he did a lot of the heavy work himself.
Right.
But if you look at the emotional side of Christine, right, she never did anything vindictive. She never tried to hurt anybody. Even when she had power, she didn't use it to exploit anybody. It's just fascinating seeing this version of what Dolores could have been from the beginning, if she hadn't have been tainted by malice, or honestly, really what William did to her. Like, I think that's the thing that's interesting. We never seen like a fully functional, understanding version of Dolores. It's always been because of trauma that's put her down a path where instead, like, no, her pure consciousness, what is she? So I think that's where that arc is going to close. I think that's where the loop is going. And it's just fascinating to see where it takes it all. Because now we're in the future. Like, I mean, Caleb's daughter is old. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's dead. Nobody from the past is still alive. Everybody is literally hosts now at this point. There's no humans left. I think Caleb's daughter is the only one, if she survives. Who knows?
No.
It looks like she got shot in the leg, but I don't know.
She got shot, yeah. Like, but I don't know. I don't know what the end goal of this show is going to be. If it's just saying how humanity, like, we're all doomed, you're right. I mean, like, I'm not saying that again biblical terms of y'all, but I'm like, yeah, okay, but if that's one of, because this show take a lot of this about, now you're speaking as creator, being and like that was the line that Maeve gave to Arnold, like, now you're acting like a god, and then now you're trying to act like trying to give us help and stuff like that, and then it's I mean, this show is basically on, like, hitting on the nose with that, but I'm just kind of concerned about the conclusion, like, if this show, like, the world ending in fire. I mean, you want to go? This show about to take a turn. You
Hey,
know.
look. It's literally the version of Armageddon for Westworld. It has happened. The humans have literally been converted. They've given up their will. We've got a man that is like a man in black that's about to conquer and rule everybody. Like, yeah, I mean, it's literally the Armageddon that's happened on Westworld at this point. But yeah, no, I actually really liked this episode because it left me with wonder and theories. I don't feel like anything was rushed. I think they took their time with this. If I can say anything about this season, they took their time with it, and it feels like they've got back to the basics. I mean, I guess I'll use an example of Prey. Prey just came out, and the reason why Prey works is they went back to foundational basics. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what the world is doing right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where I'm at with that, and I'm like, I'm not like this. Me, regardless how this, I think this episode. I thought it ended. To me, this show was a high in terms of like just compared from last season. So wherever they end up this, I'm just ready for next week. So, yeah.
If we get the opportunity of checking it out early, you guys, we will not let you know. We will watch the secret. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. Definitely go and check out all our other recaps and reviews for this season. It has been great. We've got a lot more content coming up very soon. Mike, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on my channel at Jedi Mike 7 reviews, news, and truth. Got to be content also coming up weekly as well. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you guys. Pleasure as always.
Yes, sir. And we have a little show getting a little green coming up very soon. We will be covering that. I don't know who's we covering it with. Maybe Ronan. Maybe he's interested. Who knows?
Hopefully, yeah.
That's better than that Paper Girls. Anywho, we're gonna go. I haven't said this in a while, but keep it locked. JVS, we ain't gonna stop, you guys. Peace, people.